within a few minutes. Also to the colleagues of the ISA Secretariat, our distinguished panelists, which for sure will be enriching us through their perspectives and contributions, and to the non-ISA attendees, those who are joining us from different parts of the world, great welcome to this What Women Want event. Today, we're here to explore the immense contribution that women do in the energy transition, with a focus on their leadership. Before I hand it over to my colleagues and to the panelists, I would like to provide a bit of a context, although we're going to be focusing on contributions and positive aspects that are linked to women and the energy transition. Let's also bear in mind that some challenges still persist around the globe. According to data provided by UN Women in 2023, women are still affected by important vulnerabilities, especially those in situations of armed conflict. We're talking about not only sexual violence, but also forced displacement, food insecurity, and even the attacks on the healthcare center, affecting the services they receive, and I would say the life-saving services. Not just that, but women should have a greater place in the labor market, but also in the peace processes. Not everything is discouraging. There's also some data that are sparkling our hope. Right now, women are leading local peace efforts. We have the example of Yemen, where women have been critical to negotiate civilian access to water. Also in Sudan, 49 women-led organizations have been playing a critical role for the inclusive peace process. Women are believed to be a part of 75% of informal peace efforts around the world. And to sum up, women are more and more active in defending the rights, standing for what they believe in, and participating in new professional opportunities, but also in the political sphere. So this being said, now I'll hand it over to a very dear colleague of mine named Barakat, which will set the context for Africa, which will be somehow the protagonist for today's event. Barakat, I will say it in Arabic. Tafaddal. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Borja. Good afternoon, everyone, and good morning for those who are joining from other parts of the world. I would like to welcome you all to this important gathering as we explore the opportunities and the challenges of moving towards a sustainable future. Today's conversation takes on a critical dimension, one that involves not only innovation and technology, but also the need for inclusivity and diversity. Africa is blessed with huge and untapped solar energy potential, make it an ideal solution for improving energy access and fostering economic growth. However, as we see this opportunity to transform the energy landscape, we must also ensure that all voices are heard and all hands are included in this movement, especially the voices and hands of women. In Africa, women represent half of the population, yet their participation in the solar energy sector remains low. This presents both challenges and tremendous opportunities. The inclusion of women in Africa's solar energy value chain is not only crucial for achieving gender equity, but is also vital for success and sustainability of the sector itself. By engaging women at every stage of the value chain, from manufacturing, installation, and maintenance to policy making, entrepreneurship, and leadership, we can unlock new levels of innovation and market growth. In rural areas where women are often the primary managers of household energy, the potential benefits of solar energy are substantial. Women are uniquely positioned to lead the adoption of solar energy in their communities by empowering them with the skills, resources, and opportunities to engage in the solar energy sector. We can foster more resilient and inclusive energy future. Recognizing the importance of gender equality in energy transition, the International Solar Alliance has launched a Solar for She program, which aims to improve women access to solar energy and empower them by promoting gender-specific policy intervention, skill development, and employment programs. As a part of the broader Solar for She initiative, ISA is planning to initiate pilot programs in different countries targeting women. So where we aim to build their skills and to provide them employment across solar value chain. Through the training, we will build their technical capacity as well as enhance their employability skills. In addition, ISA aims to facilitate their employment through career fairs, building linkages to credit, business support, and marketing. In conclusion, as we continue to work toward a clean energy future, it's clear that the inclusion of women in solar energy value chain is not just a moral imperative, but a strategic one. Today's discussion is an important step in recognizing and amplifying the opportunities that exist for women in solar energy. By learning from best practice that have paved the way, we can take action to build a more inclusive, diverse, and prosperous energy future for Africa and beyond. I thank you and look forward for a fruitful deliberation. Thank you, Bora.
Thank you, Barakat. Thank you for underlining the importance of the professional aspects. That's something that ISA is very clear. Women are no longer just benefiting from the advancements in solar energy, but are playing an active role. Thank you. We're moving to our next speaker. So I'd like to call Eshita. She's the technical director of KPMG. And she will be presenting she will be doing a presentation on the findings from ISA's formative research in both Nigeria and Guinea. Eshita, over to you.
Thanks, Bora. A very good afternoon to everyone in India and very good morning to everyone in Africa. So, Sonam, if you're presenting, yeah. So I'm going to present the findings from the formative research that ISA has undertaken under Solar for She project in Nigeria and Guinea. Next slide, please. Yeah. So, ISA is a part of its strategy on just and inclusion, just and inclusion energy transition. Solar for She is a part of that strategy, and that is to enhance women's access to energy and also their employment in the solar sector. Now, as a part of Solar for She program, ISA will be initiating projects in both the countries, in Guinea and Nigeria, which will be training women on specific solar solutions, as was previously discussed. And the aim is to assist the trained women in securing employment within the solar sector. Now, the key objective of the project is to undertake a proper site selection, to do a situational assessment, markets research, and a value chain analysis of the key solutions over which women can be trained. And basis on this research, some pilots, could be designed in both the countries where women could actually be trained in these shortlisted solutions. Next slide, Sona. Thanks. So, setting a context for Nigeria, the key highlights that we see is this: Nigeria, around 40% of the population still lacks access to reliable power, so they're not connected with grid. And we see that Nigeria has a very large market for solar technologies. So 82% of the total sales of solar energy kits in 2021 was from Nigeria in the total West Africa. The government of Nigeria is aimed to deploy 5 million solar host systems to electrify 25 million Nigerians and creating a job of 250,000 and stimulating local solar manufacturing under Solar Power Naija program. Now, given these initiatives are very much been coming in Nigeria, we see the market is already developed. We see an ample opportunity for women to also get trained and employed in the sector. Particularly, 70% of the rural agrarian labor force is being constituted by women. And if we look at particularly the DRE sector, we find 35% workforce is women, and total jobs for women in 2021 were around 21,000, which is growing at the rate of 25% year on year, according to
Sita.
census.
Excuse me, sorry for interrupting. Could we please ask all the attendees to please mute their microphones? Otherwise, it may, just divert the attention. Okay, thank you. Please go on, Ishita.
Yeah, thanks. So now in Nigeria, government has also what we see in Nigeria, particularly government and many multilateral partners have initiated a lot of women-specific programs in the solar sector, in RE sector. For example, there are programs existing by World Bank, GAP, USAID, which are partnering with REA and implementing a lot of these programs. And many private companies like Ashtam, Blue Camel, NGOs like Solar Sisters, they are also training women in this sector. Now, one key gap that we see is this, that while there are a lot of these capacity building programs for women, for STEM education, like, women which has background in STEM education, but, for non-technical background, or the people who, and women who is not so educated, we don't find many capacity building programs for such women groups. Next slide, Sona. So we have undertaken a primary survey in Nigeria and in communities like Abuja and areas around Abuja. So mainly two LGS, Abuja and Nasarawa, were targeted. And 2 states, and within states, we have few LGS being selected for the survey, and we did a survey of around 130, women. In order to understand their socioeconomic characteristics, their willingness to participate in solar training, and the kind of training program that could they would be interested, and that could help them enhance their skills and income. So basically ISA's main focus was to target women group which is not very to an underserved communities, to rural areas, remote regions. So the women whom we surveyed, over 50% of them had education till secondary education, and we found that most of them, they have mobile phones, and around 50% they have television access. In terms of the electricity access, we found that the number of electricity hours that they are getting, it varies between some 8 to 16 hours for most of them. But there were also, on an average, there were areas which are very close to Abuja in municipal corporation areas where supply was even higher than 16, around 20 hours. Now, most of the communities where we visited, we found that firewood was used as the major cooking fuel. And in some mini grid areas, we also found that, in Kuali, there was 79% women was cooking through firewood. And because we had these mini grid areas, we found around 26% of the surveyed women who were utilizing solar energy in the households already. Now, in terms of the economic activities, we found that around 63% of these women, they were already, they were employed, they were self-employed in agriculture and small scale industries. And uh, and 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 what we found, the local economy revolves around the crops like cassava and rice. Like, so a lot of women is involved in processing of these crops, and it's a very rich value chain which can be explored for solar interventions going forward. We also found, while during our site visits, that many of the solar solutions are installed, in these remote communities. The scale is not very large, but you will see installations of, things like solar pumps being taken up under the REA program. In few areas where agriculture is very is undertaken for 2 seasons, we see solar pumps are quite are installed in quite a good number in Nigeria. Then there are companies like Husk Power, which have invested in solar rice mills and solar processing units. Then there are also some solar cold storages that have been installed, which have helped, and we have seen women operating these solutions like solar cold chains, where they have started earning on basically on a payroll basis. So they are employed there is part-time or full-time, and these are very remote locations where it has these solar cold storage is being operated by women, and then also this has reduced the harvest losses, and also with respect to storage of meat and all, a lot of losses, they are reduced because of the solar cold chain availability in these remote locations. Yeah, mini grids have been developed significantly in Nigeria. And one particular key highlight that we would like to highlight here is this: in Nigeria, manufacturing and assembly is limited, and majority of these solutions, they are like, most of these solutions are imported, right? So, and they are involved in distribution. Players are involved in distributions, installations, and maintenance of these solutions. For the employment potential, we also asked in the survey with women that what are the key barriers to employment, and two important barriers that were highlighted were limited job opportunities and gaps in technical skills. So I think these are two major things that came as barriers from the survey. And one thing that we found is across, like, all the participants in the survey, there was a very strong willingness to undergo the kind of solar training, and uh, you know uh, and they are interested in both kind of things, like a job in a solar value chain or a self-employment. So because many of them are currently employed in agriculture, so that self-employment model is also is, or an entrepreneurship model is also something that they were interested in. So, Sonam, if you can go to the next slide. Yeah. And from our stakeholder insights, that stakeholder interactions that we have undertaken from various types of stakeholders, like different companies which are working in the solar value chain and NGOs. No, I mean, there are too many findings, but I think I would like to state one or two major findings. That one is this, that what we found in Nigeria, that women in the solar value chain, they are generally employed in sales and marketing role, or administration role, and HR roles. These are like the common roles that we see for women, when we look at the current status. And this is mainly due to the limited, technical qualifications and challenges which are faced by women. And the two major things came, like traveling to remote locations became a challenge many times. And if the woman is located locally and we have job roles in the local locations, then that will work. Then secondly, some of these projects like solar street lights, it may require, women climbing up the poles and all. So that will not be a recommended stream. So similarly, climbing rooftops could also be restrictive. So this is something that came out across various companies when we had an interaction. At the same time, we also had a very good interaction with the solar mamas, and solar sisters in Nigeria who are working, and we got an opportunity to interact with both. So solar mamas were trained by Barefoot in India a few years back, and what we found that they were quite good. And we have one of our solar mama also here on the panel, and we would be hearing from her in some time. So we found significant technical skills being imparted to solar mamas, and they wanted to enhance their skills in the marketing space. While at the same time, solar sisters, they were, they had a comprehensive marketing network and training. So they are working in more sales and marketing chain, but they wanted to enhance their skills on the technical side. So they said that they can address the complaints which their clients raised many times, which they are not able to address right now. So I think these were the two was the key learning, that there is a scope for a lot of skill enhancement in the sector, which can be picked up under the ISA program. Next slide, Sona. Yeah. So, in terms of the kind of potential and what are the possible job opportunities for the women, we think for particularly for Nigeria, three kind of areas emerge from the research. The first is that as government is bringing up large mini grid projects, and we see like there is a scope for women being trained on these large projects like maintenance and operations. Now, since these are being implemented through developers who are being selected by agencies like REA, government organizations, they can include a kind of, they can bring a policy of, like, say, a procurement guidelines where a minimum kind of percentage can be allocated for women, right? So that these many women, say 10%, 20% women could be deployed to maintain and operate such mini grids. And a required training program for that could be designed. So one is that. Second is that the employment across the solar value chain with the companies, where two kinds of roles can be seen. One is solar technicians, now where women can be trained for installation, operation, maintenance of these solar technologies, and then the business development associates who can be trained in various sales and marketing kind of solutions. Now, the third one is, like, in Nigeria, there is also a lot of financing options available. So, so solar dryers, solar cold rooms, and solar kiosks, which are like very capital intensive, one can set up it in a cooperative kind of setup. An entrepreneurship model can be there where financing can be linked with the various financing institutes. I think these were the key summary and recommendations for Nigeria. Now, coming to Guinea.
Ishita, we are running a bit short of time. If you can just summarize Guinea and move to the solutions in Guinea that we've identified.
Okay. Yeah. So for Guinea, what we see, around 50% of the Guinea population, they lack access to reliable power. And in Guinea, there are around 36 regions, and we see around 33, they have power supply hours very, very less, around, I think, even less than 8 hours. So, and a significant amount of labor force, around 60%, they are involved in jobs which are vulnerable and informal jobs. And I mean, government is taking initiatives in terms of the solar, mini grids, and Aegir is deploying, these already 3 mini grids have been deployed by Aegir, and they have a target, that 60% of the women technicians, can be deployed in these mini grid projects. But due to the lack of qualified women technicians, agency face challenges in meeting this target. So we see a huge potential again for women in mini grid installations and maintenance in Guinea. There are initiatives, women-specific initiatives, but not many initiatives we could find in Guinea, which are focused on RE or solar and women. And I think there's a lot of scope for introducing the solar training program for women in Guinea. Next slide, Sona. Yeah. So on the the main thing that we found here was this: the electricity access is relatively even more relatively more poor, or it's relatively even even many regions in Guinea, they have electricity only during night hours. And so here also we did try to survey rural and remote regions. So we went to both kind of regions, urban and rural. Urban, we went to Konarki, and then we had areas from Mamo and Kindia. And so again, the education was limited, and the digital literacy is there. And we found that women is in terms of the agriculture and fishing, these are the main areas in their value chain, agriculture value chain. They are self-employed, and again, the major barrier that we see is education and limited job opportunities. And there was a significant interest for solar training. In Guinea, we have 2 kind of seasons, like dry season and wet season. So when we are designing a program, we should also take into account like what technologies will work in which season, whether these technologies will work across both the seasons or not. So some of the prevalent technologies we could see on ground were mini grids, rooftop, mobile chargers, solar pumps, and cold chains also operating in Guinea, but in a limited scale. Next slide, Sona. Yeah. So, I mean, there were a lot of insights from the stakeholder interactions, but some of the key insights that I would like to talk about is on the thing like the main constraints that developers, private companies talked about in solar scale up in Guinea was like there's a high upfront cost of these technologies which remain a barrier, and they're now exploring pay as you go models. And from women associations, NGOs, we found that they are facing significant post harvest losses and market challenges with respect to agriculture and fishing, so due to lack of cold storages and reliance on traditional drying methods. And there are a lot of financial constraints, and they really want and both technical and non-technical skills training. Next slide, Sona. So this is like the main conclusion slide for Guinea. So, as against in Nigeria, we had 3 options. Here we would like to propose 2 options, which could be considered for designing a pilot. So one is again the mini grid projects that government is coming up, whether, companies like Aegir can explore the program for training and deployment of women through the procurement policies. And second is the employment through solar value chain companies, again as solar technicians and also as business development associates. Now, what we found that since significant proportion of the women in the rural underserved communities were involved in fishing agriculture, women could be trained in operating and maintenance of these systems if the companies come forward to invest in these technologies. But entrepreneurship kind of a model, which we also propose in Nigeria, may not work in Guinea because of the financing constraints to start with. And also the target group for, training women in, in Guinea could be, even women with technical degrees, because right now there are no existing or very limited existing capacity programs in solar. While in Nigeria, one could focus on, more a group which is not so literate and maybe educated up to secondary level education. So I would like to stop here and would like to hand it over to Vardhini. Thank you.
Thank you, Sita. You actually made me want to travel to Nigeria. I love the whole idea of the solar mamas. That would be such a great advocacy campaign for a comms person like me. Also very interesting to remind the audience that investing in Africa is doable, it's viable. Actually, International Solar Alliance has an initiative called the Global Solar Facility, which actually aims at de-risking such investments. Good. So I'll hand it over to my dear colleague Vardhini for the panel discussion.
Thank you so much, Borja. It's been really insightful listening to your comments as well as, Barakat's overview on the work we are doing in Africa, and including the presentation which Ishita made on the formative research findings. They're quite insightful, and we are looking forward to, taking some of these insights to develop the Solar Fishy program and the pilots, not just in Nigeria and Guinea, but maybe across the world in the different regions that ISA works in. So now I welcome you all to listen into perspectives from various stakeholders whom we've identified from Nigeria and Guinea. We are having a very good mix of panelists. We have people from the policy space, from solar companies, from development organizations, plus we have an entrepreneur who can, share her own experiences of being an entrepreneur and the challenges that she's faced. So let me quickly introduce our panelists, and then we'll get into the actual discussion. Our first panelist is Nima Ba, who is the Chief of Cabinet, Ministry of Energy, Hydraulics and Hydrocarbons in Guinea. She's a seasoned professional with over 2 decades of experience in diplomacy and international relations. She has held key positions within the African Union, focusing on cooperation between Africa and the Arab world. And she's also led a lot of programs under the Special Emergency Assistance Fund for drought and famine relief in Africa. Now, Nima has also served as a program officer in UNWCD, where she's worked on national programs which combat land degradation in 10 sub-Saharan African countries. So she has Pan-African experience, and she's worked in various roles in the Guinean administration as a minister, as a chief of cabinet in the Ministry of Energy. She's also been involved in the Ministry of Higher Education and Energy. Thank you so much, Nima, for agreeing to join us today. Our next panelist is David Otu, whom we have spoken to quite a lot during our research, and who's been very, very helpful in giving us a lot of insights. David works as the technical advisor for the Rural Electrification Agency in Nigeria. He plays a pivotal role, in a lot of capacity building programs in general, but specifically also for women's empowerment. And he's also focused a lot on gender-sensitive communication strategies, productive use of energy for economic empowerment, and he's developed a lot of impact-focused initiatives. And I think he, along with a bunch of colleagues, also do a lot of work with GIAP in this space. So it'll be good to hear your perspectives, David, and welcome to this panel. A third panelist is very interesting. She is Damilola Asalef, the Chief Operating Officer of Ashton Solar, and she's also the Vice President of Renewable Energy Association of Nigeria. So she wears 2 hats. And she is also a renewable energy expert, educator, and an advocate, and has done a lot of work in terms of, bringing in girls and women into the space. She's led initiatives like the Green Tech Girls Summer Boot Camp, and the Solar Queen Technical Training Program, through which more than 6,000 girls and 250 plus women have been trained on renewable energy technologies. She is also the executive director of the Girls and Women Technological Empowerment Organization and has received a lot of prestigious recognitions like, Women Making the Most Impact, being the Solar Installer of the Year, and also an award from GwenNet on Energy Transition Role Model. I think her insights in this discussion will be very, very helpful for us. So moving on to our fourth panelist, we have someone who is from Solar Sister, the well-known program that all of us are familiar with. She is Kioma Ome, who is the head of Solar Sister Nigeria and a sustainable development leader who has over a decade of experience in gender equity and off-grid energy access and market systems development. As the country director, Kioma has led strategic initiatives and has helped empower 4,000 plus women entrepreneurs in 30 states across Nigeria. And she also has designed a lot of policies, gender responsive frameworks to enhance women's participation in the sector, and has worked with different stakeholders like government agencies, industry leaders, community-based organizations, etc. Welcome, Kioma. Our fourth panelist is someone from Guinea, and he's the Director General of this organization called OKS Energy, Amadou Tahiro. Tahiro is a seasoned renewable energy expert with extensive experience in solar energy solutions, and he's been at the forefront of advancing solar technologies in Guinea. His organization, OKS Energy, has helped implement solar-powered pumping systems, cold storage solutions across different regions of Guinea. He himself is trained solar specialist or technician who is very familiar with solar system design, installation, etc. In addition to that, he's also played a vital role in training and mentoring a lot of young solar professionals, and he's quite keen to ensure that women are empowered in the solar energy sector and they can join this workforce. Our last panelist today is someone who is very, very interesting and someone who has hands-on experience, like I mentioned earlier. She is Hawa Kabala. She's a solar mama. So we had Solar Sisters, Kioma from Solar Sisters, and we have Hawa from the Solar Mamas program. And she also runs her own local NGO in Nigeria. Hawa has, as I said, trained as a solar mama at Barefoot College here in India, and she specializes in solar installations and community development. And before becoming a solar mama, also, she's been very actively involved with women, providing them essential skills so that they can achieve financial independence. She's, conducted a lot of capacity building programs on financial literacy, children's rights, business strategy, women's rights, etc. And she's a very well-known leader, quite self-reliant, and someone who drives social and economic transformation within her community. Thank you so much to all of you for joining this discussion, and I look forward to hearing from you, and hopefully your insights will help us implement the Solar for She program much better. So let me start with the first round of questions. My first question is to Nima Ba. As a policymaker, I would be really keen to hear your insights on what are the kind of current policies that we are seeing, whether it's global policies or policies specific to Africa or to Guinea, which are supportive of gender mainstreaming. And, beyond that, if you look at generally all the policies in the renewable energy or solar space, what do you think, are the changes that are required in these policies to ensure that women are included? And, what should be the role of international development sector and the private sector to support women's inclusion in solar energy? Over to you, Nima. Nima? Sonam, can you confirm if Nima has joined the call?
No, Gardini. She's not here right now.
Okay, in which case, let me move on to our next panelist, David Otu, who is from the Nigerian Rural Electrification Agency. And as I said, he works as a technical advisor and has a lot of interaction with, women, especially from rural areas. And they've also worked a lot with GIAP. So David, based on the findings which Ishita had presented, we've identified many solar solutions which are available in Nigeria, whether it is solar home systems, mobile chargers, pumps, refrigerators, cold rooms, etc. So out of all these different solutions, can you tell us which are the key solutions that are driving the change for inclusion of women? And what kind of measurable impacts have you been able to see in terms of these solar solutions helping women get access to energy, but at the same time, being economically empowered by getting jobs in this sector?
Good morning from Nigeria, and thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to join the other panelists today. Yes. First of all, I must emphasize that the role of women in the energy access ecosystem is very, very central. Even here in Nigeria, women in last mile communities continue to play a very pivotal role, as the primary managers of clean access infrastructure. But to your question, from our work at the RE, we've seen that solar home systems, as well as solar powered refrigerators and solar powered irrigation pumps, for irrigation farming, will be the top 3 on our list for women, and for very good reasons. What you find in some of these communities is that a lot of women lead businesses and MSMEs in last mile communities. And once you deploy an energy access solution, they actually take control of these solutions and manage it and use it for socioeconomic growth. While, even in households where you have men, you still find women playing a very central role in ensuring the proper productive usage and management of these solutions. It might interest you to know that under the Nigerian Electrification Program, which is a World Bank and African Development Bank funded program, we've been able to energize over 300,000 female-led, households, and over 3,000 female-led MSMEs. That shows you the productive nature of women in these last mile communities. And usually what women in these communities do is that once you deploy, for example, solar home systems, they are able to utilize these units to power their households and run, businesses, at the micro level. For agricultural productivity and food security, just 2 years ago, we kicked off the deployment of solar-powered irrigation pumps in last mile communities. And we've been able to, through that initiative, train over 600 women, who belong to farm clusters and farming communities. And you find out that what they want is just the easiest way to carry out their daily domestic or commercial activities. So whenever you deploy the systems, they are always open to it. So you find out what I see missing, and which you would agree with me, which also I see reflected in Ishita's presentation, is more opportunities for women, for capacity building and for more central institutionalized role for women. You still find out that the number of women within the clean energy ecosystem with technical expertise is still very low compared to men. I mean, they say it's a man's world, right? But I think you would agree with me that the sort of insights, perspectives that you get from women, it's worth giving a go. That's that approach to cognitive diversity is worth giving it to always bring women on board and providing them with the necessary tools, the necessary knowledge, and the necessary expertise to actually take on these roles and perform better. If at this level, they've been doing very well in a lot of off-grid communities in Nigeria. Now imagine if there's a deliberate effort to improve their expertise and empower them. They will do even much more. I think I'll stop here for now. But
Thank you so much, David. That's quite insightful. I think it's very interesting to see that you have solar-powered agriculture hubs, because I think that's something we also were looking at, decentralized solar solutions through which we can provide employment for women. And I resonate with what you said, that we should be able to provide more opportunities for women, not just in terms of training, but ensuring that they have employment, because once you can show them a job or an opportunity through which they can earn, then definitely they would be more keen to pick up the skills which are required to be in that particular job. So thank you so much. Let me move on.
Vardhani, you're on mute.
Sorry. So let me move on to my next panelist, Damilola. Damilola, as I mentioned earlier also, you hold a very unique position. You're not only the Chief Operating Officer of a solar company, but you're also a co-lead on the Renewable Energy Association of Nigeria. So you must have seen a lot as part of your work in the Solar Association, as well as the lead of a solar company, in terms of what it takes to include women. Mostly, if we look, women are included in non-technical roles in solar company, and then that is counted as employing women. They're employed in, areas like administration, sales, and marketing. Engagement of women in key technical roles is not that much because of a lot of reasons. So it'll be great to hear from you what strategies you think will be very effective in increasing the number of women in technical roles and in leadership positions, such as the one that you hold. Over to you, Damilola.
Thank you, Vardhani. Can you confirm if you can hear me, please?
Yes, we can. Please go ahead.
Okay, so thank you for that question. And happy International Women's Day in advance to all the women on the call. So in my perspective, I'll look at it in two different angles. Those that are just coming up, and women that are already in the system. So for us to really get that gender parity in the technical roles, we need to go to the foundation. We need to go to the foundation. And when I say foundation, I mean foundation of what are women actually learning right from school, right from secondary school, right from university. What are the roles women are taking in terms of education? Because this is what actually determines the balance when we are older, when we are already in the workspace. This is what determines the balance. When you go to university and you go to an engineering or a science department, and there's just one woman out of 100 men, it shows that by the time they are all out of university and they're entering the workforce, then that balance is not going to be there. So we need to go to the roots. We need to go to the foundation and ensure that whatever initiatives we are bringing in actually include the foundational education. So that right from that root, we are solving that problem right from that. And with that, by the time those that are already introduced to STEM, those are already introduced to technicalities in their lower educational level. By the time they are entering the workforce, then that balance that we really achieve, that we really want, is going to be achievable. So that is one. And now for those that are already in the industry, be it they are in sales already, they are in HR, or they are even in the technical space, what the kind of initiatives that we should be offering to them are initiatives that is going to be ensuring that they are acquiring the skills needed to either transition from being just a salesperson to being a salesperson that has the technical orientation. Because as long as you are in the sector, you're in the energy sector, no matter the role that you're playing, you still need to have that technical expertise. You still need to have that technical knowledge. If you're a salesperson and you can't defend the component that you're selling, you can't defend the solar home systems, you can't explain how the solar home system works efficiently to whoever you're selling it to, then there's going to be a problem. You're not going to be closing enough sales. And you also need to understand how to maintain the systems that you're advocating. You need to know how to operate them efficiently. So there should be intentional program tailored to training women on the technicalities of energy assets. Intentional program. So even if the woman is actually in any kind of role, managerial or soft skills role, there should be that intentional program training them on technical skills. On-the-job training is good, but not just on-the-job training. We should come up with a mentorship program that actually ensures that women, after getting that training that they want or that we are offering to them, they are also mentored. They're also mentored by other women in the technical space. And another thing that we can do is workplace policies. Workplace policies. So we should ensure that in our workspace, there are policies that actually aligns with women, that will allow them to, that is enabling for them to excel in technical roles. Policies that allow women to excel in technical roles. Policies that are not gender biased. Policy that looks at like the individuality of women gender and ensures that those policies are in place in our workplace to ensure the women can actually strive in the technical space. Women can actually strive in the technical space. And examples of what we at Ashland Solar has been doing for women to ensure that there's women parity, gender inclusiveness, is that we've done several trainings, both from secondary school girls and also university students, and even those that are already in the industry. We have been able to train them. And what I see in most cases is that women, we are very, very willing to get this technical expertise. We are very, very willing. We want to get hands-on. We don't want people to say, oh, because you're a woman, you can't do it. Which happens most times, even from our gender counterpart, the men say, oh, because they're a woman, don't do this, don't touch it, don't do that. But the woman should say it herself that, oh, I don't want to do it, or I can't do it at this time. Not the assumption that because you're a woman, you can't do it. If a woman can't do it, let us say it ourselves. Don't let us assume. Don't assume for us. Let us say, okay, this particular time, probably I'm pregnant. Oh, because I'm pregnant, I don't want to do this role at this particular time. Not you assuming because you felt maybe my stomach is big and you assume I'm pregnant, probably. And I mean, I'm pregnant. And even if I'm pregnant, I may still want to do some things as long as my doctor approves. So why don't you allow us to say it ourselves? And we want to say it ourselves we want to be engaged. We don't want to be assumed for, and we just want to push further. So I'll leave it at that for now.
Thank you so much, Damilola. I find it very interesting to say that, the thing which you said, that men typically have this view that women don't do this, you cannot do this, don't touch this. I mean, even if a woman is pregnant and her doctor has given her the okay and she is willing to do it, I think we should be able to give her that space to be a part of this sector. And it's great to hear the work that you're doing, both in terms of training young girls as well as women. And, I think it's also very important, like you mentioned, that we should look at workforce or workplace policies, like what kind of policies do you have to really encourage women into this field? Thank you so much for those insights. I'm now going to move to my next panelist. And let us hear now from Keoma. Actually, Mr. Tahiru has messaged us that, he's somewhere outside and is not able to connect. We are still trying to see if, we can get him internet access so that he's able to join. Meanwhile, I'm going to move on to Keoma Ome. Like I said, she's, she's the Nigerian head for Solar Sisters. And Keoma, there's a lot of things we keep hearing about Solar Sisters and Solar Mama in this particular space. I think these are the two organizations which are most talked about. Solar Sisters specifically, I think recently I was browsing your website and amazed to see that, you've managed to create employment opportunities for around 11,000 plus women. So it'll be great to hear from you some successful examples of, how your training programs have helped women to be a part of this, solar sector, either as an entrepreneur or as a professional who's got a job. Over to you, Keoma.
Right, thank you for this question, Verity. And I want to say also Happy International Women's Day to every woman, to every man, every he for she. It's a great month that we pat ourselves on the back and give ourselves all the warm loves and hug. So happy Women's Day again. Thank you for the question. I must start by first, appreciating the insights gained from the research. I think they are very practical. I love the level of engagement when you met with Solar Sister, how the questions were. I also like the fact that we were able to meet Solar Mama firsthand. So that was really very interesting. How we have addressed some of these challenges, that have limited, women in the formal sector and even in the informal sector, in the solar energy space is through our comprehensive gender sensitive trainings and approach that we have brought into our solution. So for us, we deeply understand, that women are household energy managers, and women are very critical to driving energy access in last mile communities and around the world as a whole. So for us, our training is very critical, and the support that we give to our women entrepreneurs across all our country of operations, enables our women to access finance. Now, we have an innovative financial model where our women entrepreneurs, over 11,000 now across the 3 countries, access interest-free loans to help them, acquire their solar products so that they can scale their business. Because we understand that one of the barriers that women face in scaling their business is access to adequate finance. So our women entrepreneurs have the opportunity to access interest-free loans so that they can get more solar products and go into the market. Our model is an end-to-end market-based approach. We also support women by providing them financial literacy and business management skills. One of the contributors to the early death of women's businesses is lack of business knowledge. A woman can have all the capital that she has to start a business, but within 2 to 5 years, women businesses has been known to just go down the drain or stop existing just because of poor business management and financial literacy skills. So our trainings provide that knowledge financial literacy and business management to our women entrepreneurs so that they can effectively manage their business resources, their funds, and then scale their businesses, go into new markets, identify new customers. We have very great inspiring stories of women entrepreneurs who, before they became Solar Sister entrepreneurs, say they cannot speak to the next person, they are shy, they don't know how to face a crowd. And after becoming Solar Sister entrepreneurs, years later, they are talking to thousands of people at once, talking to people, talking to men, going from community to community, explaining to them about solar technology, explaining to them about the harmful effect of the fossil fuels they are using. So we are able to see our women entrepreneurs, just expand their knowledge, expand their agency, and become technically knowledgeable to even talk about solar technology. Our support also enables our women entrepreneurs to have market access. During the year, we support our women entrepreneurs to engage in product fairs, market activation activities. And these product fairs ensures that they enter new markets, meet new customers, and ensures that there is consistent access to, the right markets that they need to access. Our solution has also ensured that we are challenging the existing cultural and gender norms, both the ones that are perceived and the ones that are real. I'll just link to what Damilola said earlier, when it comes to that perception that women cannot be engaged in technical things in the renewable energy sector, with solar technology. It's already a norm, in the society that anything that has to do with a wire, there's a gender divide. It has to be a man, but we are challenging these norms. It's worse in the rural areas where we are largely focused. So our support ensures that we are promoting gender equality through the awareness campaigns. Now, when we go into communities, one of the primary things we do is to educate them on the role that women play in energy access, how women can become solar entrepreneurs. And a lot of times we meet resistance at first, but by educating, by raising their awareness, helping them understand the role women play in energy access, what we do is to men become more knowledgeable, and they are the ones that begin to mobilize their women in their communities to become solar entrepreneurs. So what we do is to shift societal perception and gain acceptance. And so we even have cases where our women entrepreneurs are totally supported by their spouses to go to new markets. Their spouses, male spouses, are helping them carry the products if they are heavy. And we also see our women entrepreneurs climbing roofs to install solar panels on the rooftop of their customers. It's beautiful to see a woman talk about the different components of a solar lamp and how a solar lamp technology works. So the training that we provide to our women entrepreneurs are tailor-made. We train our women in their local language. We have been able to demystify all of the big English words in the technical components and say them in the language that the women can understand, because energy poverty does not respect language. And so the solutions that we bring also has to break through the language barrier. And because we're able to communicate, educate our women and train them and build their skill in their language, they learn fast, they adapt fast, and they have already become solar entrepreneurs. Our women entrepreneurs serve as models. Now, for instance, in Nigeria, we've been operating for over 10 years. We've established over 4,000 women entrepreneurs. So these 4,000 women entrepreneurs have become models, to new entrepreneurs that we are meeting, because when we go to new communities, one of the fears women have is, are they the first? Would they be able to do this? But by the time we're able to show them how fellow women like them in Nigeria and across Nigeria are solar entrepreneurs and are scaling their business, it gives them the confidence to say, yes, because the woman out there doing this, I can also do this. I'll stop here for now because there's so much to say when it comes to how we are breaking through the barrier of, of gender mainstreaming in training.
Thank you so much, Chioma. Very, very insightful. I do agree that, unfortunately, because of time constraints, we have to pause here, but there is so many aspects to gender mainstreaming that we need to discuss. You've touched upon quite a few. especially the soft skills bit, like ensuring that they have adequate confidence, they're able to understand how to develop a business model, how to, expand their business. Plus what you spoke about in terms of providing them access to interest-free loans, which I think is also a very, very critical component if you're looking at women entrepreneurs in the sector. And of course, a whole lot of things which you touched upon in terms of, breaking barriers, cultural norms, ensuring that, women are able to establish their agency and then, be a part of the sector. Very insightful. So now let me move on to our next panelist, who is again someone from a very well-known, incredible agency, the Solar Mamas. So we've heard from Solar Sisters, and now we move on to Solar Mamas. And we have Hawa Abubakar. She is a Solar Mama herself. That is, she's undergone the training as part of the Solar Mama program. And, I'm sure that she can provide a lot of insights. Hawa, if you can, just throw some light in terms of how was your training experience, and how has this training under the Solar Mama program or becoming a Solar Mama impacted you both at a personal and a professional level? Specifically, I'm interested to know, what's the change in your income before and after the solar training, and what are the challenges that you've faced, in your entire journey? Over to you, Hawa. Please unmute yourself. We cannot hear you, Hawa. You have to unmute yourself. Yeah, you're audible. Go ahead. Oh, you again muted yourself. Can you click on the unmute button on your screen? Then we'll be able to hear you.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Please go ahead.
Okay. Good morning. My name is Hawa Abubakar from Nigeria. Mr. College in Philadelphia, 2018 to 2019. Precisely, I left there in March. I live in a village called Broom. I have an NGO. Before I traveled to India, we called the NGO Tapchara Women Association. But after coming back from India, we went into a skill and and so we just started. I'm the president of the organization, and I also
Hawa, can you
I'm the
please
president because I have.
Hawa, can you please speak a bit louder?
Yes,
because there is a lot of background noise. A little bit loud, please.
Okay. Okay. I am the president of the organization of the NGO because I am privileged to read and write over my partners in the village. So I also bring ideas to the NGO, and then initially when we started with weekly meetings. I bring the women together. We contribute some money and give to one of us, and she will pay instrumentally with little interest. So when women started seeing it like that, and that's how they took interest on it, then they started coming together. We started coming together, and then I then introduced skill acquisition. Then from skill acquisition, I started, I then introduced adult education because they see me writing and they want to write like me also. So that's how I started. Again, the challenges I faced when I went to Belfast College, lot of them. One of it is having to stay with my husband, girlfriend in the same room, working in the same classroom. Because when I went to that Belfast College, my husband girlfriend was among the people they picked in among the solar mamas they picked. So it was challenging. It's almost really that, but I have to tell myself that there is a focus of coming to Barefoot Village. I have to achieve it. Though I was even on medication, then taking some medication, was easy for me.
Can you please hold the speaker next to you? We are not able to hear very. Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead. Yes.
Hello, can you hear me, ma'am?
Yes,
okay,
yes.
so I said I have women that I'm training in my community. We started a small group of women, bringing them together, contributing money weekly to give to the first person, then another we will give to the second person, and then if she is paying back with small interest. And then gradually again, I introduce skill acquisition, small. We learn like Vaseline, looking soap, and some other things. Then from there, women saw it and they liked it and they joined. Then I now introduce again adult education, teaching them how to do right because most of them cannot do. Yeah, that's how we start. Like I said, the challenges I faced while I was in the experience I gained while I was in Barefoot College, having to meet so many women from different countries, not understanding each other's language, but and then we are working towards the same goal. It's amusing and it's also interesting. But part of the challenges I face, having to stay with my husband, girlfriend in the same roof, was terrible for me. Was not easy for me, but then I have to tell myself there is always reason for why I'm here. So I didn't allow you to pull me back. I did the training, and to the glory of God, I was able to graduate. And so for now, that's it.
Thank you so much, Hawa, for sharing your experience. And I'm sure many women can resonate with, the personal difficulties that you shared with us, how they need to overcome some of these difficulties in order to be a part of the solar sector. Yeah, now. And it's really great to see, you've highlighted some of the key skills that women need to have. They should be able to read and write. They should be having at least some amount of, a network or a connect with other women in their community so that collectively they can, maybe, as you said, give out loans, train each other and support each other. So I think having that ecosystem of women who support each other is also very, very important. I had a second round of questions planned for this panel discussion, but unfortunately, I think we are pretty late. We are already, nearing our closing time. So I wouldn't really go into the second round, but I find that, all the insights that we've heard from all the four panelists have been really great. And I look forward to, engaging with you further so that when we roll out the Solar for Sheep pilots in Nigeria and Guinea, we are able to, get you on board and, take your experience, along with us so that our program is also quite successful. I now give it over to Borka, but before that, my apologies. I did not wish all of you International Women's Day in advance. A very, very happy Women's Day to you, and look forward to seeing more women in this space. Borka, over to you.
Thank you, Vardhani, and thank you to all the panelists for, as I said, I was right, enriching us to their perspective. I think the message is very clear. Work. A lot of work has been done, and even more has to be sustained through times. It doesn't matter whether it's through research, it's through serving international organizations, it's spreading the word about what women can do. It's also somehow about overcoming those voices that actually shouldn't belong to the present anymore. It belongs to a let's say an old-minded mentality that shouldn't have any room nowadays. Women can do it. Women can do absolutely everything, and men like me should be there to support them and be allies. Happy International Women's Day. Thank you again for coming. Thank you to the colleagues from the ISA Secretariat. Thank you to all the attendees from other continents. I will close this session.
Barkha, we have a Q&A session, a very quick Q&A, and then we
Okay.
have.
I thought since we were running out of time.
No, and then we also have both our DGs who will give us the closing remarks. So if followed by the quick Q&A, we can ask our DG Dr. Mathur to give his remarks, followed by Dr. Khanna.
Great. Yes, I was going to transmit our dear Director General's greetings, but he's here, so he will do it himself. So let's open the floor for the Q&A. I will request my colleagues from IT to unmute all the speakers so that we can interact with the panelists.
Any questions from any of the attendees? If you're having difficulty in unmuting yourself, please type in the chat. Okay, I think since there are no questions, we can go to Dr. Mathur's address and closing remarks.
Sure.
Well, thank you very much, Vardhini. I am absolutely delighted that number one, we had this discussion today. Number two, the kinds of ideas, the kinds of energy that we saw in this program was truly remarkable. And I'm, from my own side, absolutely glad that we were able to have this event. What I want to do is to take a moment to reflect on the very inspiring insights that we've had today. We have explored the challenges that women face in the solar industry and how they can be overcome to create an inclusive and sustainable future. What I'd like to stress is that we fully recognize, we agree with you, that while there has been progress, a lot more needs to be done to promote equal opportunity, to enable mentorship, and to provide leadership for women in this field. At the ISA, we are working with you and our member countries to ensure an equitable energy transition. The energy transition is happening, we want it to be equitable. That ultimately benefits everybody, including young girls, including women, the kinds of people who are at this webinar. We can make this sector more equitable and promote women to leadership roles. We have had, one of the things that has been observed is that we've had too many women who are at the entrance level. I think what we need to do is to make sure that they come into the senior leadership role. At the ISA Secretariat, we are committed to that. We would provide the kind of training that is required for women to move into leadership roles. And we would provide the kind of experiences that are needed in order to make that transition. what I want to stress is that addressing this disparity in the large number of women at the lower level, very few women at the senior manager level. This disparity is not just about fairness; it's also about tapping or unlocking untapped potential. So we need to tap that potential that exists. We started the process of enabling a large contribution, an increasing contribution by women in the ISA in 2023 when we first developed the program Solar for She, which was very much done under Vardhani's leadership. In November last year, our assembly, our 7th assembly, ratified the gender policy program, the gender policy that we had put out to them, and the program that was of activities that was associated with it. This looks at both external and internal actions. Internally, what it wants to do is that we enhance the role of women, both in terms of numbers, but also in terms of their positions in the Secretariat. And externally, what we want to see is that all our programs use the filter of how does it affect women, how does it benefit women, all of these programs, apart from how we are looking at it now. What we look at is that this program creates a lasting impact, not only on young girls and women, but it, through the process, accelerates the deployment of solar energy. I want to thank you for sharing your thoughts with us, and I want to wish you a very happy Women's Day. Looking forward to being with you, to working with you as we grow the solar sector. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you so much, DG, for taking out time and addressing all of us. And I should, really thank you for giving us the space to develop the Solar for She program, as well as doing all the initiatives that, we've undertaken since last year. Thank you. So I would now request our DG-elect, Mr. Ashish Khanna, to please give his reflections and final closing thoughts. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Vardhani. Am I audible?
You are.
Okay, thank you so much. And first of all the guests and colleagues, and most importantly, the women who are driving the change in energy sector, I wish you all the best in advance for the Women's Day tomorrow. I am the DG in transition, but I'm delighted that I have this opportunity because I believe it is not only important just for gender equality, but it's the right strategy for economic growth, expanding energy access, and accelerating progress in economy and the society. I want to share a little bit of a personal experience because I'm coming from Africa. And about 6 months back, I had the opportunity to go to Maiduguri, which is a northern state of Nigeria, unfortunately infested by terrorism. And what I was delighted to see, a 10 megawatt solar plant associated with the University of Maiduguri was managed by 20 women STEM engineers. I met them, and for 2024, it was one of the highlights for my time, where all 20 of them saw solar as a career, not only for their own dignity and their own growth, but for the country as a whole, especially in the most fragile area. Mm-hmm. And I always remember that 2 days that I saw in Maiduguri, that people can have clean energy access and women can find a voice through participation in economic growth, especially in fragile areas, as a great opportunity. Now, we all know, unfortunately, there are barriers because not enough women are there in solar, and therefore we need a lot more concrete actions to actually make it happen. There are problems on limited access to education and training, financial constraints, social and cultural norms, lack of adequate policies and support mechanisms, often workplace inadequacies and inequality, all leading to an underrepresentation, especially in decision-making roles. So I feel all of us need to take it as our own imperative to do it. I heard Dr. Mathur say that I'm learning that ISA has been starting the Solar for She program, which I think is an excellent initiative. I also believe that there are specific initiatives. For example, there's a formative research in Nigeria and Guinea that is designed to lead to designing 2 pilots specifically to skill train and employ women in solar solutions. And that's something at ISA we will be delighted to partner with more and more countries if you have concrete initiatives to take forward skill building and women employment. Also, on a more holistic basis, there is just a work that's being initiated on gender audit of solar policies. Obviously, this is a much more of a global initiative, starting with 4 African countries, where we are seeing whether all the energy and solar policies have an adequate gender lens. So I think both in terms of project-specific interventions in countries, but also an overall review is exactly the kind of focus that we like. This cannot be done alone because ISA works with partnerships across all the countries. It is a commitment to work with all multilateral agencies, governments, private sector regulators to take forward the importance of building gender in our policies and projects. And finally, I always believe you must walk the talk. So the call for action is important. As I demonstrated from the Nigeria project, the real proof of the pudding is in actual doing projects. So I would like to end again by thanking all of you, but also perhaps a collective, almost a call of action that we must end the call today by saying that when we go back on a day-to-day basis, we just don't treat it as a tick mark exercise, but we ingrain it as a right thing to do, not only because it is a policy, but it is the right thing to do morally, economically, and socially. Thank you very much. Back to you, Vardhani.
Thank you so much, DG-elect, for sharing your experiences. I think it's very, very enriching to hear about, your experience in northern Nigeria, in Maiduguri, if I'm not mistaken. We hope to see more such kind of projects where women have taken the lead and, have been able to not just, as you said, economically empower themselves, but have contributed to the clean energy or the green energy space. Thank you so much, both to you, Dr. Mathur, as well as you, and to all our panelists and participants for joining with us. And wish you all once again in advance a very, very happy Women's Day, and look forward to you joining hands with us, as Mr. Khanna mentioned, in partnering on Solar for She. Thank you so much. See you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you, everyone.